Last night, police officer Randolph Holder was shot and killed chasing a gunman during a gang battle in Harlem, New York. This 5-year veteran displayed the usual sacrifice seen from law enforcement, running at trouble, not away. And chances are who's ever being approached isn't an honor student with a bright future. The officer's response is always under fire, figuratively in the media, but literally in the street. You can thank gangs who always get a pass from our loudest outrage merchants, recipients of tolerance welfare. Gangs are viewed as cultural, not criminal. Holder's killer had been arrested 15 times and was on the street due to a program made to shrink the prison population. Keep that in mind when you hear of overcrowding. The solution isn't catch and release. It's build, catch, then keep. Whoever called 911 was likely a law-abiding, terrified minority. Holder, a minority, died in a place where his job mattered most, Harlem. He was the 4th city officer killed in the last 11 months. Nationwide, 101 officers have been killed this year, a 15% jump from last year. True, we do live in safer times, yet we cannot deny an atmospheric change. As a subversive crusade against law enforcement rages, the callow media trains new generations to hate those who die to protect us. Finally, Holder was an immigrant who took a tough job confronting thugs lucky enough to be born here. Countries often send us their best only to deal with our worst. So, KG, these are horrible stories. And afterwards, the police always ask the community to pull together, which is so different when you see activist perspective, which is to pull people apart. But it's about a community coming together, and they have.
And that's one of the best things about, police departments across this country. They really are such a community. They look out for one another in times of joy, in times of grief or family strife. And, having spent so much of, my adult life working with law enforcement as a prosecutor, I know them. I know them well. I know their children, their families, their wives, their husbands. Their brothers and their sisters. They're people just like us that want to go home every day to see their loved ones, and they're doing something that is so incredibly admirable. They are not just collecting a paycheck. They are out there putting their lives on the line every single day to make our lives better. Think about that.
Juan, this was in East Harlem, so he was in an area where he was protecting people from dangerous people, and apparently activists never really talk about that part of the story.
I don't think they talk about it enough because I think there's a tremendous amount of violence in the black and minority community in general. And I couldn't agree with you more about the gangs getting a pass, because I don't think gangs should get a pass, and especially the gangs that are fed by drug revenue.
Right.
But I do think you're wrong about something else, which is I think guns are a major part of the story, and I know you think everybody should have a gun. I just can't agree with it. And by the way, I think the killings of police officers, as abhorrent, as reprehensible as it is, even with all the Black Lives Matter stuff, it's not radically different than it's been in past years before that whole movement started.
Well, can I add to not only gangs as part of the culprit of the sickening war on the men and women in blue, but liberals. I mean, Rahm Emanuel, who was top advisor to President Obama, goes to Chicago and said the cops there are basically in the fetal position because they're afraid. They're not afraid. The treatment of police and the black community in the media and by liberals is disgusting. Well, what's his name? Martin O'Malley can't say why all lives matter. He can only say Black Lives Matter. That's part of the problem. That's feeding into the anti-cop sentiment. But one of the solutions, I still think, body cameras, guys, because bad guys, when they know they're on camera, will probably have less of a tendency to do something stupid when they know they're being filmed. Yeah. I would hope.
I just want to throw to this this disturbing. We've seen this before. It's an anti-police montage. These are the voices that we hear in protests when there are shootings that get a lot of media attention.
Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon. Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon. Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon. Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon.
All in good fun, of course. Dana, in previous crimes and shootings, the media, the left in general, has no problem linking the Tea Party or Sarah Palin to horrendous crimes. Shouldn't be Black Lives Matter or these activists in general bear some responsibility?
You're right, and I remember in particular there was one of the main network reporters at a mass shooting said, "Oh my gosh, this is the Tea Party person." It turns out they had the wrong person, but they were looking for that, and that was their first thought. Interesting to me. So the suspect, Tyrone Howard, his arrest record is quite lengthy: assault, robbery, criminal trespass, public lewdness, and conspiracy, and also 9 times arrested on narcotics possessions and twice for marijuana possession. Okay, so this is happening. A crime like this last night happens after an arrest record like that, while at the same time there's a big movement, and an interesting one, about reducing sentences, and a lot of that actually involves gun crime. So what is the left going to be willing to accept when it comes to relaxing either their sentences or crimes on drugs and guns that lead to arrest records like that?
It's a perfect example, this case.
He was involved in a shooting that involved a child and an elderly woman, and he was on the streets. So it's about the sentencing. They're not being kept. When you commit a violent crime, you should be staying a long, long time.